On today's video, we're making pemmican. If you don't know what this is, it's the world's greatest survival food. This is pure fat and protein, and it has a shelf life of at least 25 years. Follow along, and I'm going to show you exactly how we made it, and then we'll come back for a taste test. So the first step is going to be selecting your meat. You're going to look for a lean cut of meat that's relatively inexpensive. So today I've got an eye of the round. This is going to be perfect for this application. What we're going to do is we're going to trim off all the exterior fat. We're going to go ahead and save that though, don't worry. And actually, I'm just going to be slicing a little bit off of each end, and I'm going to save the middle to make some deli style roast beef. I'll leave a link down below to a video I did of that recently. Be sure to check that out, another great money saving tip. So I'll bring you in close and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to trim this up. Go ahead and get this cryo bag open using my Lamson American made boning knife for this job. I'll leave a link and discount code down below if you want to get one for yourself. These knives are made in America, but they're a really good value. Okay, we did have this in the freezer for a little while, so it's a little bit stiff. That's also going to help big time with the slicing. I'm just going to remove this fat. Doesn't have to be a perfect job. And then we're going to add this to some more fat, and we're going to go ahead and render that down to get the tallow for this recipe. Freezing it will make slicing it much easier. Just go ahead and remove that fat. A little deep there, but not going to go to waste, don't worry. Don't have to get every last bit of fat off, but you do want to remove the big parts. Just work our way around. Sharp knife is definitely key for this job. Time to slice this meat. I got a deli slicer because I make a lot of homemade bacon. If you don't have a deli slicer, just do your best to get nice even slices. We're going to be looking for them to be a little bit under 1/4 inch for this job. I'm going to set my slicer here to a number 6, and we'll go from there. This is also great if you're making beef jerky. I'll leave a link down below to my beef jerky recipe. You gotta try it. That's a video that never got enough views. So please support me and go check that video out. Let's slice this and we'll see how the slices look and we'll adjust the size. Very careful with your fingers. Okay, that first one's just gonna be mostly fat, but now we're getting into the meat. I think right there looks like a pretty good thickness to me. Let's keep slicing. See how this does. Raw meat can be a little tricky to slice. That's why you got to make sure you freeze it first. Those look like good slices to me. Right around 1/4 inch. So let me get the rest of this sliced up and then we'll check back. Okay, one more slice. I think that'll be enough. So like I said, I'm going to save this nice center section to make some deli style roast beef. If you don't want to watch the video, I'll give you a quick recipe right now for it. Season this up aggressively with plenty of salt. Slow roast it to your favorite temperature. Slice it paper thin. It'll beat any deli style roast beef you'll find at the store. But like I said, link to that video down below. The next step is to render this beef fat into some tallow. To render this tallow, I got out my crock pot. This is not a kitchen gadget I use very often, but it's great for making tallow or lard because you don't have to worry about overheating it. You can just plug this in, let it run all night, and you'll have a perfect product in the morning. So the first thing I'm going to do is I got all the trimmings from this eye of the round. I'm going to throw those in the bottom. Better if you cut these into small pieces, but they're pretty thin, so we're going to go with it. Now here I've got about 4 pounds of beef fat, which I previously processed. I ran this through my meat grinder on a coarse plate before I froze it. So we're going to get this out of the bag. I think it's still a little bit frozen, but that's not going to matter for this. We'll just get it here in the crock pot. This pemmican is going to take probably a couple days to put all together, but it's not going to be a lot of time of active cooking. It's going to be a lot of waiting. So let's get this in. If you've never made your own tallow before, give it a try. It's such a great fat to cook with. It's very nutritious, and a lot of times you can pick up beef fat really cheap. I think I paid $1 a pound for this. So we're going to put that in. We're going to set this to low. And we'll let this go all night. We'll check on it in the morning. The next step is to get that meat dried. but that's going to have to wait until tomorrow. I'll see you there. This meat's been sitting in my refrigerator overnight uncovered. Like I said, making pemmican is a long process. That step was probably not necessary, but just based on when I had time to get everything done, that's how it worked out. And the drier I get the meat, the better off it's going to be. We're going to spread this out on these wire racks nice and evenly, making sure none of the meat is overlapping. Inside, I got my oven set to dehydrate at 200 degrees. I'll put the meat in there, and then I'll reduce the temperature to 160. I'll let it run all night. No such thing as too dry when it comes to making pemmican. Just don't get the heat too high and burn the meat. This is going to be a long-term shelf-stable food, so you can have no moisture in the finished product. Some other ideas for you. Maybe try smoking the meat for a little bit and then dehydrating it. I would love to see that smoke flavor. I do have one more idea though, to add a little bit of smokiness to this, and I'll show you that when we get towards the end of this process. So let's get this spread out and into the oven. Meat is nice and dry now. It went all night in the oven. Nice and crispy. I weighed this already. There's exactly half a pound of meat here. So I added 1/2 pound of tallow to this pan. I'm going to go ahead and turn this meat into a dust using my bullet blender. We'll heat this tallow up. We're going to mix them together. Got the Hickory smoked Redmonds real salt to add a little bit of extra flavor to this. I'm just winging it, but I'm going to go with 2 teaspoons for this size batch. I'll let you know what I think of the salt profile when we give it a taste test. Probably take 2 batches to get all this meat in, I think. See how much we can get in here. I don't want to overload it, so 2 batches. I think we'll add this, we'll blend it, and then we'll add the rest. Give it a couple shakes in between. Still a couple chunks in there. I think we'll probably give it one more try, then we'll just pick them out. See what we got in here. Meat powder. Okay, heat this tallow up. We're gonna add this Hickory smoked Redmonds real salt to the tallow. Mix that around. Okay, now we're going to add all the beef. Make sure the meat is all the way wet, fully saturated. Okay, to shape this, I'm just going to lay out some parchment paper and kind of make a log out of it. Going to pour that in the middle. Shape this into a little bit of a log. Okay, we're going to twist off these ends. Okay, now we're just going to let this cool off, and then we'll give it a taste test. As you saw, I made mine with just meat and tallow. If you wanted to make this a little bit sweeter, you could add dried fruit. My recommendation, if you want to make it sweeter though, would be add a little bit of honey to this. So let's go ahead and try it and see if we can taste that Redmonds smoked salt in here or not. Wow. So this might not be the greatest thing you ever ate. It's surprisingly delicious. I'm getting a little bit of salt and a little bit of smoke. You could probably add just a touch more salt to it though if you wanted. Wow. This is actually surprisingly delicious. But just make sure you drink some water with this because there's a lot of dried meat in here and it's going to dehydrate you. Forget about protein bars. Make pemmican instead. You got to try this. It's really pretty good.